Welcome to Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gashanja and we are coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton here in Hurlingham. Now, according to the World Health Organization, cataract is the largest cause of blindness in the world and especially in the low and income countries. In Kenya, the script is the same, with cataract being the largest cause of avoidable blindness. So why the high burden, you ask? We find out right after this fact of the matter. A cataract is a clouding of the normally clear lens of your eye that leads to a decrease in vision. Cataracts often develop slowly and can affect one or both eyes. There are several causes, with aging and injury being the most common. Stronger lighting and eyeglasses can help manage cataracts, but if impaired vision interferes with your usual activities, you might need cataract surgery.
Hapo bereni, miaka hiyo hapo bereni nilikuwa mzuri, lakini hii mwaka wa 2019 kuanzia Julai kuna sabuni hapa ile inatunguswa na wasichana wakiuza, nikaoga naye. Wakati huo ndio nisikia macho kama inaanza shida. Nilikuwa hata nikiangalia kusoma hapo bereni, nilikuwa nikisoma Biblia, nikaona sasa Biblia sioni mzuri, siwezi kuisoma. Kwanza nilienda Kikuyu bereni. Kwenda Kikuyu nikaambiwa iko na cataracts, hiyo jereri. Kwaambiwa iko na jereri, nikaambiwa huko hawatumiagi card. Nikaambiwa habari, kuna madaktari wanakuja pale St. John kila Thursday. Nami nikachukua jukumu, nikaenda St. John. Kwenda St. John nikapewa card, nikapewa niende nione daktari hapo juu. Nikaona daktari bali kwa akitumia study langu. Study langu ndio nipa information ya sete eye. Akaniambia nikija sete eye nitatibiwa. Ndio nikachukua jukumu, nikakuja sete eye. Hapo ndio ninaanza mwendo wa kutibiwa. Kadi ile kwanza, hiyo card niliambiwa itanipa 120. Hii maji kutibiwa nikaambiwa ya kwanza nitalipa 60. Wakachange 60,000 kwa hiyo card. Alafu nikaambiwa nikuje nikae baada ya mwezi mmoja nirudi. Watanipigia message. Baada ya mwezi mmoja ndio wanipigia message, nikarudi tena kwa hospitali. Hata ukifanywa hiyo surgery huwezi kusikia uchungu na haina shida yoyote. Hapana, ni kuingia kwa daktari na wewe utibiwe. Wakati nilitibiwa, hata mimi mwenyewe siku hizi naweza kujipeleka town, kwa maana najipeleka town. Hata nikienda kwenda pahali popote, mimi naenda, sioni shida yoyote kwa barabara. Unaona ile namba? Si uko nikisiona, lakini siku hizi nasiona 1 + 3 = 40.
So let's understand better what cataracts are, and to help us with this is Dr. Kibata Githeko, who is a consultant ophthalmologist at the City Eye Hospital, and of course Asha Idi, who is a cataract patient. Thank you for joining us on this one. Now, Daktari, what is normally happening to the eye to actually create this clouding associated with cataracts?
So think of an eye as a very sophisticated camera. That's what it is. And so the eye does two things. It allows light to come into the eye, but it also focuses light into the eye. The purpose of the focusing is the lens, just like any other camera. That lens has no blood vessels. That lens has no nerves. It is absolutely 101 transparent, completely. It has nothing other than cells. There's nothing in that lens that will hinder light. Once that is lost, for whatever reason, if that transparency is lost, that is what we call a cataract. And for the person, what they usually see is loss of detail. So they can see, but they start losing detail. And then as it progresses, as the opacity, as that transparency gets more and more less, then it becomes misty and foggy all the time. It looks like evening even when the sun is up. And you start finding people changing bulbs in the houses and increasing light on their iPads and so on and so forth. And then if you ignore it, then it'll come you will lose the transparency completely. It will become opaque, white, so that now all the light that goes actually does not enter the eye but gets reflected back. It's like a wall. And at that point, really, you're in darkness.
So that is blindness?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So it is, unless you've been hit or poked in your eye, usually that process is a slow process.
Asha, when did you discover you had a problem with your eyes?
Last year, mwaka jana nafikiri. Shughuli zangu mimi ni msanii. Niligundua wakati nilipopewa script naiangalia hivi, naona sioni vizuri. Nikaisogeza karibu. Nikiangalia pia naona matatizo, nasikia mishipa inavuta. Nikaiweka karibu zaidi. Nikasema hapana, kuna tatizo hapa. Nikawa sasa naanza kuona tunaita maruerue, yani dim. Nikikuangalia ukiwa mbali napata kuona ile ficha yako tu, lakini wewe mwenyewe sikuoni clear. Nikaona hapana, hapa pana matatizo. Sasa kuna bosi wangu ambaye akanambia hapana, Asha lazima ushughulikie haya macho. Nikaenda kwenye hospitali tofauti, nikaenda nikaangaliwa macho, naambia mama kuna shida. Nikaanza shida gani? Wakanambia kuna utandu umemea kwenye macho. Sasa ndio hiyo cataract. Nikamwambia utandu, mbona mimi naonaona? Anambia hapana mama, ishughulikie mapema la sivyo utatembea na kijiti wewe.
Okay, so how long ago was this?
Ni mwaka jana tu, kuanzia mwezi wa Januari. Sasa mwaka mzima ikawa natatizika tu. But sasa Mungu ni mwema, nikapata njia na nikatengezwa macho.
Daktari, they call it an old man's disease, but looking at Asha, clearly that's not always the case. So what are the common causes of cataracts?
So the commonest cause is old age. Well, let me not say old age, aging. Because there are some people who develop it at 45, but majority really is above 50s, 60s, 70s. But then there are other causes that either cause it to come earlier. Chief among them is diabetes. So diabetics get cataracts much earlier. There are some drugs we use, the steroids. So drugs can also cause. Radiotherapy. So for example, if you have a cancer of anywhere on the face, and you need to go and get radiotherapy on the face, that radiotherapy will damage your lens and you will get a cataract. There are children born with cataracts. They're called congenital cataracts. Either you don't know why, or they had a condition, rubella, infections that the children get in their mother's womb. And then there's obviously the big one, trauma, injuries, hockey balls, rugby, racket balls, squash, tennis.
Now that we're talking about the causes, Asha, uko na diabetes?
Kabisa.
Ulidiagnoziwa mwaka upi?
Mwaka 2015 Disemba.
Wakati ulienda hospitali, wali compare ama kusema ni kwa sababu ya diabetes perhaps uko na cataract sasa?
Unajua diabetic nayo pia ni maradhi mengine ya kiajabu ajabu kwa sababu huwezi ukayajua. Nimeshangaa juzi wakati nimekuja kufanyiwa operation ya hili jicho wiki iliyokwisha Alhamisi. Mimi nimefika vizuri tu pale hospitali City Eye na fanyiwa majaribio ndio ili niende theater. Wakanambia mama sukari yako iko juu sana. Kambia juu aje na mimi natembea niko sawa. Wakiniangalia 17, ikabidi mama itabidi utulie ama uje siku nyingine. Ngambia siendi. Ikabidi nikae kwa muda, alafu ikateremka ikashuka vizuri sana kwa sababu nilikuwa nimepiga mavitu, nimekula kiasi.
Haya, sawa. Sasa wakati walikuangalia, shida ilikuwa kwenye jicho moja ama yote mawili?
Cataract mara nyingi nafikiri bwana daktari utakubaliana na mimi inashika macho yote. Ama inaweza ikalemea jicho moja. Kwa sababu kile nikienda kuangaliwa kufanywa test, naambiwa Asha, jicho la kwanza ambalo utakalofanywa operation lazima liwe ni hili la kulia. Nashindwa la kulia nikifanya hivi naona vizuri, lakini lingine nifanye hivi sioni. Bwana daktari kwa sababu ya nini?
Sometimes the lens, the opacities are in strips. So you're seeing through a gap and you're seeing well. But when we look, you can see overall this lens is very bad. But you have this single gap, but sooner or later it's going to close.
So are we saying we do not have instances where cataract can affect only one eye?
It can, but in cases where it is age-related, it will start with one eye, but invariably it will go to the other. But in cases, for example, like where there was an accident, you'll have it in the eye that was hit. The other eye will be fine. but most people have it in both eyes, but they don't all progress in, in tandem at the same time. Almost always one is usually more than the other.
So there are different types of cataracts. So which are they and what informs the discrepancy?
The whole lens is like a ball. So the opacity can be anywhere. The opacity can be in front of the ball. So we say that is anterior cataract. The opacity can be in the middle. So the front and the back is clear. We say that is nuclear cataract because it's in the nucleus. And remember the biology, the nucleus in the center. The opacity can be at the back. We say that's a posterior subcapsular. The opacity can be around the ball on the sides. It looks like, what can I think of? Like bicycle spokes. So we call that cortical cataracts. So that opacity, it depends on where it will start. But ultimately, the whole ball will become opaque. And then we say that is a mature cataract.
Aisha, nyumbani kuna yeyote mwingine akona cataract ama ushawaiona?
Maremama alikuwa nayo. Manake yeye alipata baada alivyokuwa na maradhi ya pressure na kisukari pia. So alienda akafanyiwa, katolewa. Yeye alitolewa macho yote mawili akalazwa hospitali. Lakini sasa unajua sasa technology inaenda ki-advance. Mimi nimefanyiwa jicho moja kwanza, baada ya mwezi nikaja nikafanyiwa tena hili la pili ambalo ni mwezi jana, wiki iliyokwisha samani. Wiki iliyokwisha ndo nimefanyiwa na nimefanyiwa nimeenda theater na nikatoka nikaenda zangu mpaka nyumbani. Manake technology ime advance.
Daktari, so a risk factor could be the genetic composition?
Yes, but also the diabetes in the family may be the cause here. But it's also a strange thing because you'll find like there are some patients who come and I tell them they have cataracts and they say, look man, my mother is 90. She's reading her Bible. What is this? How come my parents who are much older than me don't have a problem and I have? So yes, there's a familial component, but it is not very strong in cataracts. Sio sana.
Okay, now before we take a short break, let me understand which other risk factors are out there, apart from now the non-communicable diseases. So
diabetes is one. Two, if you have anyone who got a cataract when they're very young in your family, then that means there's either a genetic or familial predisposition in that family. Also people who are very, very short-sighted. They tend to have issues, and one of them can be cataracts. A lot of allergies, you find these kids who rub their eyes are red all the time, they are treated with steroid drops. So if they are treated with steroid drops continuously, without anyone checking, those can lead to cataracts and also high pressure glaucoma.
All right, now when we come back from the break, I'd like to hear from Daktari if excessive consumption of alcohol or even smoking can also feed to cataracts. We'll be right back.
Place your order and enjoy free delivery. Reach us on 0723 999981 or 0724 114411 or the details on your screen. Boma Mabati. Mabati ya kila boma.
Like every mom, you want the best for your child.
Happy birthday.
You make sure she knows the joy of sharing happy moments with family. And when everything comes together, you above all others will share the taste of success with her. Blue Band tastes like mama's love.
Unscripted with Grace.
This is our Father's Day episode.
This is something that men need to embrace. Men need to help more. You don't put meals in my table.
Nakwambia.
You don't pay my rent. You don't even call to find out how my kids are doing.
There you
and
go.
Here you are, you're saying, Jeff, I'm
You have an
Let
opinion.
me be olewed if it is going to pay my bills.
Wacha niolewe.
Wacha niolewe.
Join Grace Msalame this Saturday from 8 p.m. only on NTV.
Yummy. I know. Nitamu. It's no surprise. The good quality baked bread from Bol A is festive bread. Chukua yako moja leo.
I believe you. I believe what you tell me, and that's why I give way to your words, something which you should also do exactly to mine. You have no reason to behave that way because I could be a lot worse, and I have reasons to be.
Yeah, why would you?
I can give that back. There's no problem. After all, that's why Roberta brought it here, so I can give it back to Agustin. However, what can be done about yours? Yours is complicated, Geronimo, because you are having twins, and those are yours for life. That's why mine is simple. Yes or no?
It's one platform where everybody has a voice.
If we don't have jobs, if we don't have money, if
we're
not, if our business...
Hosted by the King of Wit.
Do you know the Bible to that much detail? Ama hizi ni zile tu zinaendanishana na dhambi zenye unajua.
It's basically everybody's show.
Vitamin C ni cassava, shauri ya nguvu. Vitamin D ni dania.
Ana chakula, anaimba. I have decided.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. King Ori and the Guesswork CEO, Kinya Jui.
The Kisumu County Assembly specializes in stimulants, to be specific, concentrated coffee.
Where humor meets sense.
Moses Kuri alinitwanga hapa serious.
Soldiers wanakuanga wameka polisi kids. Mbona nyinyi mkimbiangi mkituona?
The Wicked Edition. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m. only on NTV.
Welcome back to Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gashanja. Today we are learning about cataracts, and we have Dr. Kibata Githeko, consultant ophthalmologist at the City Eye Hospital with us, and of course still with us Asha Idi, who is also a cataract patient. And Dr. when we went to break, I mentioned that there has been talk about smoking being a risk factor, excessive consumption of alcohol. Are you seeing more people coming in because perhaps of these factors?
There is no evidence that alcohol and cataracts have an association. Smoking, yes. Smoking, actually, somebody said, if tobacco was discovered today, it should be a banned substance because it has so many problems. Basically, smoking really damages blood vessels. And blood vessels, wherever they may be, you will have now the associated problems. But even that smoking, the association is not very strong. But we know people generally who are heavy smokers tend to have issues with their eyes. There's also the question people ask me, what about sunshine? You know, should I be wearing goggles, you know, sunglasses all the time? Will that mean that I will not get cataracts earlier? And even that really is not, there's no really strong association to suggest that that sunlight causes cataracts. Otherwise, Africans around the equator will all be blind.
Yes.
You know? But however, having said that, when you look at nomadic tribes, especially, and a lot of pastoralists, they live in hot, dry areas, they tend to get cataracts more. That is a known fact. You know, the Branas, the Somalis, the Maasais, and so on. But people tend to think that it may not be the sunlight, but dehydration.
That's a good clarification. So back to Asha. Wakati uliambiwa basi uko naye, uliambiwa perhaps uache vitu vingine, uchukue vingine ndio angalau isaidie na management ya sasa diabetes na sasa cataracts.
Waliniambia hivi, Asha, ikiwa uta manage sukari yako vizuri, uangalie maagizo ya daktari, ufuatilie maagizo ya daktari, sukari yako iwe sawa, basi macho yako yatakuwa sawa. Lakini as much as hata tukikutengeza macho na bado hautazingatia maagizo ya daktari, naona bado utaleta shida, kwa sababu sukari ikiwa nyingi sana kwenye mwili, deposition yake inakuja kwenye macho saa zingine. Nafikiri daktari ni kweli, inakuja kwenye macho.
So daktari, what other ways are there to help prevent the development of cataracts?
So if it's age related, you can't affect aging. So that's not a modifiable risk factor. However, I think you can age gracefully. So watch your weight, watch your diet. You know, exercise, overindulgences leave, smoking and drinking leave. So that is not a modifiable factor. But in things like diabetes, that is very clear. If you control your sugar, you will develop cataracts like any other person. You will not develop cataracts earlier. If you are looking at drugs, then of course you've got to say if a drug has a known risk factor for developing cataracts, then can we find an alternative, or do we have to use it? In people who get radiotherapy on the face, it's very, very important that they shield the eye. Sometimes you can't, but it's very important because radiotherapy is very harsh on the eye as well.
You know how in the African context tunatumia mawe matatu kupika, kuni.
Yeah.
Is this a risk factor?
No, no.
Hii procedure nasikia inafanyika wakati uko macho.
Kabisa.
Uliambiwa hivyo na ulikuwa na uoga kabla uifanye?
Yani nilikuwa na mchecheto ajabu. Nilikuwa nashindwa sasa, naanza kuleta mawazo kwamba sijui kuna mashini ziko hivi. Yani naanza kuimagine vitu ambavyo haviko. Lakini Mungu wa haki, nilikaa pale nikisubiria kuingia theater. Kuna vidawa unaekwa saa zote unaekwa dawa zile za nini bwana daktari? Mimi nilikuwa nimeambiwa hivi, ukiingia theater unadungwa shindano kwenye jicho. Anaona naekelewa kitu, haya angalia huo mwangaza, nikaangalia mwangaza. Basi nangoja ile shindano sioni. Muda si muda daktari ananiambia shahidi, asante sana, surgery imekuwa sawa. Sasa wajua jicho lilikuwa wazi, lakini nilipotolewa vile vifaa, nikifanya hivi, nikafunga macho, nikifanya hivi, naona. Nikamwambia Mungu asante. Nikamwambia nangoja shindano, daktari ananiambia hakuna cha shindano, hakuna cha nini, umeshafanywa wewe hivyo. Lakini sasa nikapoa ile masharti katika muda wiki 2, vumbi, jua, miali ya jua na nini, nikaambiwa nitafute goggles. Mwenye katafuta goggles za 200 pale nikavaa. Alhamdulillah niko sawa.
So daktari, why do it with the patient awake?
If we think the operation is complicated for whatever reason, then we will not use the drops route. We call it topical anesthesia. That's the drops. We look for straightforward cataracts without any problems or any risks that we can see. So the other important thing is also the personality. Ukiona unatetemeka and you're sweating and your blood pressure is up, then we know this one is too apprehensive. Just knock off that eye, because the one where we put drops, you really need to be a calm person.
When do you decide this patient goes the surgery way and another one you don't?
I think worldwide there are two kind of groups of thought. There are people who say once there is a cataract, no matter how small, it's only going to grow, so remove it. There are others who say, look, if the patient is not complaining, why are we removing it? In any case, we are removing it to improve sight. Patient is not complaining, why are we bothering? So I tend to favor that route. And so we'll also remove it at very different levels of sight. A pilot will come, they have 20/20 vision, but they're having problems with color on the cockpit. So we'll operate. You know, a person who is a herder, so long as they don't confuse goats and sheep, they're fine.
Okay, fair enough. So let's talk about the healing process, Asha.
Ukifata tu maagizo kwamba hii dawa weka kwa masaa fulani, maana kuna dawa fulani ukitoka hospitali unafaa kuweka mara 4 kwa siku. Nilipata mshtuko wakati nilimuuliza daktari. Aliniambia Asha, unajua tumekuweka lens ndani ya macho. Nikamwambia akanambia nikamwambia alafu itatolewa lini? Akanambia hiyo haitoki mama. Hiyo utabaki nayo. I was like, oi. Sasa mtu akinigonga macho
itavunjika.
Lakini ikiwa wewe si mtu wa fujo, si mtu wa balaa, utaishi. Maana yake inanisaidia sasa, hainiumi, hainifanyi nini. Sitakaa tu nayo, kwa nini tatizo gani?
Okay, so daktari is what entails the surgery. What you remove the opaque lens?
So we need to replace that lens. So we put in an artificial lens, which we fold. It's called a foldable lens. It's folded like a cigarette. So the lens is 13 millimeters, but the incision is 2. So you roll it up, shoot it through there. That's a machine that does it. Once it's in the eye, it opens up like a butterfly back. And that is where now the surgeon also is the skill comes in, because you've got to make sure it unfolds correctly. It's not upside down. And it is in that pocket, in that bag. Once it's in that bag, after a certain time, that bag will contract and hug the lens After uende bungee jumping, that lens cannot move.
So the question would be,
Yes.
would cataracts reoccur?
So a cataract cannot reoccur except if you don't wash out that lens matter, those cells will grow again and form lens matter.
All right, so how did you cover the cost of this treatment, Asha?
Hapo ndo kizungumkuti. Mara ya kwanza nilipokuwa naelezewa kwamba ni pesa fulani zinahitajika, nikawa nimetatizika. Lakini wakaniuliza, uko na NHIF card? Nikamwambia niko nayo. Akanambia bas, una wasiwasi gani? Iko valid? Nikamwambia Akanambia basi, wewe tupatie card namba yako, hii kitu itakavyo na NHIF. Baadhi ya hospitali wengine hawakubali. Sasa unapokuwa mwananchi wa kawaida ambaye ni kama mimi, inakuwa mtu unatatizika, unapata matatizo. Unakuwa huna usaidizi.
Please, everybody should have an NHIF card. NHIF is not perfect, but NHIF has certain strengths that there is no other insurance in this country that has. Like now for her, we don't have to start figuring out how we're going to help her, because that finance, that cost is covered. They don't cover everything, but they try and cover kind of the basics. So sometimes you're offered a contract that is unworkable. And I know, like Kikuyu was offered one that is absolutely, you can't work. Even us, if they gave us that, we would not work. So that is NHIF part. But then you have a hospital part where you have compliance issues. You have fraud issues. You have, issues where NHIF actually does not give you a contract. Because they're also very strict about how you classify and how you qualify.
All right, now myths and misconceptions around cataracts also influence why patients actually at times even refuse free surgery. You have undergone it. Your quality of life is better, Asha. Ungeambia Wakenya wengine vipi?
Ukisikia operation, usianze kuwa na vitu ndani ya akili kama nilivyokuwa navyo mwanzo. Wewe pata upasuaji ili upate afya yako. Maana afya hainunuliwi.
Dr. Even as we close, access to primary eye care is scarce for many Kenyans.
We have a problem. We are 160 ophthalmologists for 40 million. Of the 160, more than 80% are in Nairobi. So you can do the maths. There are some counties that don't have a single ophthalmologist in this country. So we have a long way to go. So we have a problem of financing. We have a problem of human skill. But every problem there's an opportunity. That's the way I see it. We should leverage technology so that somebody in Nyanyuki can go in front of a machine. I see the results on my iPad and advice. You don't have to actually have hospitals there.
Dr. Kibata Githeko, consultant ophthalmologist at City Eye Hospital, and Asha Edi, who is a cataract patient. Thank you for giving us more information about cataracts and, of course, offering a lot of encouragement concerning the surgeries. Time now for the health tip.
In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to do pike crunches. This exercise is excellent if you have lower back pain or a back injury and you want to tone your ab muscles. Make sure you squeeze your abdominal muscles as you crunch and raise your foot as high as possible. Squeeze your abs in this position. Squeeze. The way to make this exercise more effective is to hold a light dumbbell. You don't want to use a very heavy one because it will mess up with your form. Here now I'm engaging my arm muscles more. The worst thing you can do for your back when you have back pain is to do sit-ups and crunches. That only hurts your back.
Thank you for your feedback and comments on our social media platforms. Keep them coming through. This has been Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gashanja, coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton here in Hurlingham. Until next time, see you.
Yeah, from one side. Yeah.
That's how you do pike crunches.